What is a WAC application? For those of you who don't know, it's a packaged form of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. I'm going to show you a really basic WAC application, and then I'll move on to some advanced applications so you can see, for example, how you can interact with your phone's camera, geolocation, messaging, all sorts of great stuff like this. So let's, first of all, look at the HTML for a very basic application. So as you can see here, from the doc type at the start, this is HTML5, and we just link to a regular CSS file for doing styling, and for JavaScript we link to one or more JavaScript libraries. So let's just take a look at the CSS. CSS is completely standard, nothing here that's different from anything else. And let's take a look at the JavaScript. Okay, so I'll come back to this in just a second. What we also have is a config XML file. So if I just show you the source of that, that's hopefully you will never have to edit the source of this config XML. You can do everything via the IDE. And what this allows you to do is set an ID for your application, the version number, content icons, the license under which you want to release it, all of those great things, as well as saying which features of WAC you are going to use. So for example, when a user installs your app, they'll be prompted to say, hey, this app can access your phone book, do you want to allow this? And so you just need to declare out which features you're going to be using. So let's take a look at this app. This is really, really basic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the x-axis from the accelerometer of my phone and display it in the app. So all I've done here is I've just put a very simple on-click event to say get x, and let's take a look at what that involves. So here we go, the function getX. Most of the WAC 2.0 APIs hangs off this root element, which is device APIs. So all I've done is I've called device APIs, accelerometer, get current acceleration, and then when that works, we've got a success callback. All we're doing here is document, get element by ID, x-axis, and then setting the inner HTML to what the x-axis is. So very, very simple. I'm going to show you how this works. So what I have here is the WAC emulator. Now this is in beta at the moment, and it's going to be released towards the end of this month, beginning of next month. And what this will allow you to do is, rather than having to spin up an Android emulator or install the app onto your phone, you'll be able to test it online. Really, really quick, really, really easy. So let's take a look at how it works. So I click Browse, I select the .wgt file that I've created, and I hit Open. Then I upload the widget. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you can see the widget as it is, but let's first of all take a look on the left-hand side. Here you can see all the information about this app that I've created. So if I'd gone into config XML, I could have changed the version number, the author, the dimensions, everything else. So obviously your web browser, or certainly my web browser, doesn't have an accelerometer in it. So what we've got here, if I open that up, is a way to set the accelerometer values. So if let's first of all set X at this. Now, when I fire off that on-click event, what happens? X is set there. Now that is really, really basic. Very, very easy to use. So I'm going to show you now very quickly how we style these widgets, and then I'm going to show you some more of the advanced features. So popping back to the Eclipse IDE, let's go to the CSS and change this from white to red. So again, this is really, really basic. You can of course build up as much complex CSS and as much complex JavaScript and HTML as you want. I'm just doing this very simply to show you what's going on. So let me upload that package again, and hey presto, it's turned from white to red and everything else still works. Let's take a look at some of the other really cool things that you can do. So this is a beautifully styled application. Thank you very much, Barry, who created this. And what we've done here is we've used a bit of jQuery Mobile to do this, but you can use any JavaScript or CSS package that you like. There's Accenture Touch, YUI Mobile, there's a whole range out there, or you can create your own, but we've just used this one to make it look a bit pretty. So whereas before I had to do an on-click to change any of the values, what we've now done is set up watchers and callbacks. So as I change the X value, you'll see that there the X value has changed. If I change the Y value, changed, Z value. And that's really simple. So let's take a look at how this sort of app is coded. If I flip back to Eclipse, so here's the HTML. Again, it's nothing particularly special. You can just see there we've got the axis values X, Y, and Z. So let's take a look at the JavaScript. Okay, so here's the JavaScript. Let's just take a look at this function. We've wrapped it up in a try-catch loop, but all we're doing here is we've added a watcher, and what we're trying is device APIs, accelerometer, watch acceleration, and then we've got some success and error callbacks, and we set a notification interval of 500 milliseconds. You can, of course, set those to be whatever you like, and that's it. So it's literally, you can see here, it is one line of JavaScript to get the X, Y, and Z axis accelerometer information out of your phone. So hopefully you'll agree that's pretty special. But let's take a look at some of the other interesting things you can do. Here's device status, and what this is doing is reading all of the information off your phone and then displaying it back to you. So let's take a look at what you can get from here. We've got battery, cellular hardware, information about the cellular network, information about the device. Something which will be of great interest, I'm sure, is all the display parameters, including pixel ratio, color depth, DPI, how much memory is available, and information about the runtime, and then finally the Wi-Fi hardware information. So let's just skip right back up to the top. So again, in this middle panel here, we can set all the different device status parameters. So for example, what happens if the battery is no longer being charged? So when I click off, you'll see the battery charging there change from yes to no. So you can listen for that and, for example, turn off the backlight or do less CPU intensive activities when you know that the battery isn't charging. And similarly, you could say, you know what, if the battery gets lower than 40%, do something. If the battery gets higher than 70%, do something. Or indeed, you can say, well, this is going to need to send information over the network. First of all, check whether the cellular network is on or not. There we go, very easy to change. And let's take a look at one other example. What happens if a user is roaming? As we all know, roaming data can be expensive. You might want to limit the amount of data you transfer if the user is roaming. So again, here we switch roaming to yes, and let's say that the user is now roaming onto AT and T, but with a lower signal strength. So we've had a question here from Victor, who asks, do all devices export this status information, or is it optional? Let's take an example here. We've got supported image formats here. Obviously not all phones are going to support animated GIFs, for example, but you'll get a really good idea of the range of values and of the potential values that can be returned if you look at specs.wacapps.net. Different phones, as we know, have different amount of cameras. So some just have a rear-facing camera, some have front-facing cameras. Some of the new 3D phones have got 3 cameras, 2 on the back, 1 on the one facing you. What you're able to do with WAC 2.0 is interrogate the device and find out how many cameras it has, so that you're not trying to call cameras which don't exist. So first of all, I'll show you how this demo works. So I've got 1 camera in this device. And when I click on preview camera, there we go, let me just stick the scroll bars back on. There you can see what the camera's seeing. Now obviously most laptops and desktops don't have cameras, and at the moment HTML5 doesn't have a way of accessing them, but with WAC you can, and it's really very, very simple. And let's take a picture. Alright, we've captured that. What I'm going to do now is change the device. So what this emulator allows you to do is select different devices with different hardware parameters. So for example, what we're on at the moment is what we call a standard HVGA device, which just has one camera. You could have a QVGA device with a lower resolution and with a camera which doesn't do video. We're going to select an HVGA device with twin cameras. And what that will do, there you go, you can see as I've reloaded this, it's picked up two cameras. Now let me just reload the widget. This is still in beta, so we don't want to confuse it too much. And there I can select the front camera rather than the rear camera and do a preview of that, and hey presto, you've got a different view. So let's take a very quick look at how that's achieved. Back to the IDE. Now the great thing about this is you can just set the camera image, once you've acquired it, the preview, to any element of the DOM. So you can replace any div tag that you like with a live preview of the camera. Now, to get a list of the cameras, really, really easy. Device APIs, camera, get cameras, and that will return a list of all the available cameras, and you can do on success and on error. For camera preview, again, very, very simple here. You are doing create preview node, and that will, Barry, do you want to explain a little bit about how this works?
Yes, once you've got a list of cameras, you then use that camera object to access a preview node, and it returns a DOM element that contains your view of the camera. It's up to you as the developer to insert that into a container of some kind of div, whichever, and it will then assume the dimensions of that container. It's all very easy, really.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot, Barry. So let's take a look at one more final application. Shall we take a look at messaging? The idea behind messaging is you are able to send SMS, text, MMS, and email from your application. But more than that, you're also able to monitor the inbox for your SMSs. So here you can see the application that we've styled, and very simply we can flip between a message type of SMS, MMS, and email. So let's send a test SMS. Now obviously we're not hooked up to a network here, but we can just type in the message. We get a nice little pop-up telling us what's happened. So the other thing we can do is look at the message inbox. So if I want to send a message to this emulator device, I go to the control panel and say, right, let's push a message. I'll type SMS, and I'll say it's a message from, and hello from WAC. When I hit send, what you'll see straight away there, that's changed to a 1, and we can click view inbox, and there's my message at the top. What we've also done is pre-populated the emulator image with a fairly full inbox, and you as a developer can go through and you can get all those texts, and you can also look at who's in the phone book and the calendar and various PIM actions like that. I think that's everything there is from us. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful day.